Welcome into the PHNX Suns pregame show brought to you by our friends at the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's #1 sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you know whenever we are live. I'm Lindsey Smith here with Saul, Bookman, and Espo. Guys, Game 5, how you feeling?
I refuse to answer that because every time I answer it, whatever I say
You're wrong.
just screws the Suns over. So I'm so convinced of that I had Leah Merrill, the host of the Coyotes and our sometimes producer, provide crystals here that can help us get the mojo better for the Suns. I have no clue what any of them do, so I may jinx us with them.
Well,
but
if you like that one on fire. No, I'm kidding.
Leah wouldn't bring us bad crystals.
I
They
don't
all got to
know.
be good things.
So
Leah
we got that.
wouldn't
They
do
were
that
good
to us.
crystals until Espo rubbed his scrubby fingers all over it.
He's rubbing them all over his body now.
I mean, good luck.
Now
Let's-
they're just bad crystals. They're dark.
Oh, no.
They're the dark crystals.
Saul, how you feeling?
I was a little nervous. I still am a little, apprehensive.
Yeah.
But then I took an edible and I said, "Fuck it, here we go."
Okay.
So let's.
And OGs. If you're
OGs.
you got to drop the sponsor name.
I
when
got you,
say
man.
it.
I wasn't even done talking yet.
Okay, sorry.
You jerk.
I need an edible. I'm on edge
Yeah,
right now.
you do.
I'm right on
Anyway,
edge.
so I don't know. I have not been feeling good about this Suns team for the last 2 games. I hope they turn it around tonight.
Yeah, I think so. After Sunday night's game, I didn't know exactly how I was feeling, to be honest with you. I knew I was upset, obviously, but I didn't know what was really fueling that turmoil. And I figured out after I drove home Sunday night after the post-game show and sat around for a little bit, I'm angry more than anything. And I think I'm angry because it feels like, I know it's not true because I know they care, but it feels like the team just doesn't care at this point. Because
At
I
least
think
in that game.
Yeah, at least in that game. Because a good part of it felt just like, where's the energy? What's up with this?
I think the panic that you feel or the anger that you feel is kind of common right now. Listen, I hope it doesn't happen. I don't feel like it will happen, but you never know right now. It's 2-2. If it should go the other way, there is going to be a ton of people that feel like they were completely lied to, like this team was a fraud. And the worst part about it is you don't. It's horrible to either be. It's cool to be trending up or trending down, but it's horrible to be left in limbo. And with this team, if this were to happen, then you're like, I don't know what to believe. Are they the team that had 60 plus wins in the regular season? Or are they the frauds that got bounced in the first round by a fucking team that shouldn't have even been in the playoffs? That would be the worst part. But let's just move on because that's not what's going to happen.
But I feel like right now that I allowed myself to believe again. This sounds really cheesy. I'm in some freaking Hallmark movie.
It's fine.
But I feel like after years and years, we had kind of walled ourselves off. We're like, you know what? I accept some of what happens as a Suns fan, as an Arizona sports fan, but we went so long without the playoffs. There's that magical run last year, and then they come out and they win 64 this year, and in my head I'm going, this is it. We finally get to see what we haven't seen in Phoenix, and you believe in it, and you're rewarded with sitting 2-2 to the ninth best team in the Western Conference in the New Orleans Pelicans, and that's where I'm at. I'm like, how did I let myself buy in, believe again? Why didn't I have my guard up? And that's where I'm feeling kind of the same as you. I got this a little sense of anger about where we are now tonight. A big win can cleanse anything, right? We all could be feeling a hell of a lot better 3 hours from now. But right now, and in particular after Game 4, that's where I was sitting with things. So.
Yeah, I think heading into this game, I'm kind of just indifferent. I don't know how to feel, so I'm not feeling anything currently.
There's a pro and a con to these players not really being quote unquote Suns fans, right? They play for the Suns. They want to win, yes, but they haven't been with the organization for 20 plus years like a lot of us have been, and we really wear this on our sleeve. So there's a negative aspect to it because you wish they felt like you did when you're watching them play in the fourth game, and you're like, why aren't you guys diving on the floor for loose balls? Why don't you put somebody completely on your ass? Listen, if you're going to reach and get a foul anyway, you might as well go ahead and just knock them on their butt while you do it.
If you're going to get a foul, at least make it a little bit of a more tough one, more physical.
It's like that's the negative, but the positive is listen, we're all feeling apprehensive. We're all feeling a little anxiety, but the players, they don't have that allegiance and that desire, or not the desire, but that feeling of like despair that could be lurking, right? They just go out there and they play ball, and what happens. And so that's the benefit to this.
Right, that could be a good thing.
Yeah, that could be a good thing.
Well,
yeah, for sure.
Not even could be. That is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing from a desperate and like in despair sort of a feeling, you're not going to play well. Like, you got to go out there, have confidence, have fun with it too. You can be angry, but if you're playing from like a super desperate place, I think that's going to be a disservice to you in the long run.
Yeah, they don't have to carry the baggage of all these years that we watched. Most of them carry the baggage of being up 2-0 in the finals and losing that. But everything else that we bring as fans isn't even in their mind. They don't even. Most of them probably have no clue how difficult times have been for the Suns in in playoffs past. So to your point, 100% better that they don't carry it the way we do, because you can get in dark places when you start thinking about the past like that, where the players don't have to worry
and Sean
about
Murphy in the chat says a ring will impact their careers more than our fandom. Yeah. I know we want it, but they want it too. No one wants that ring more than CP3, and his teammates want to help him get it. Like, I don't disagree with that whatsoever. I really don't. But the fact that you're a player and you can control certain things out there is a little bit different than us, who have no control over anything, right? The only thing we can control is how loud we are when we go to a game and try to cheer on our team. These guys have control, and they know, okay, I have another year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Players always talk about how they thought that, like the first time they got to the championship that they'd be back. And some players never go back. Charles Barkley got one shot at it, didn't get it, and that was that. You know what I mean? And so, until you get to the end of your career, or have never really understood how valuable that is, it's a process. CP3 learned that last year. How valuable that is. I know he wants a championship. Everybody wants a championship. The players want a championship. They know how much it means to them. But that doesn't come at the expense of us fans and how bad we want it too. You know what I mean? Like, we all care just as much as the players. Like, you can't tell me otherwise.
I was just gonna say control is an illusion, so none of us have control.
No. That's like, what does it say? You want to make God laugh? Tell him about your plans.
Yes, exactly.
Well, when you talk about players towards the end of their career talking about how they didn't realize that they wouldn't be back in a championship game, when you're at the beginning or middle part of your career, why wouldn't you think with the mindset that you'll be back? Because if you already have it in your head, like, I'm not going to make it back here again, then you've already ruined your chances, basically, because you're killing yourself there.
I think you have to understand it's not a given.
Yeah.
I think that's where it's at. Like, somebody like Cam Johnson, even Mikal Bridges and Ayton to a certain extent, didn't deal with losing, didn't have that. So you get to that peak of the mountain and almost win it all that early. Sometimes you can think, oh, it's a given, we'll be back. And I think you need to have that mindset that it's not a given. I have to go out there and work my ass off just like we did last year to get back there, kind of thought.
So we have a super chat from Psycho Blue said, we're on this wagon no matter what, but no matter what, let us not anger the basketball gods again by telling them, quote, do your worst, like you guys did last month.
That's why we have the crystals, getting rid of the bad. I don't remember saying do your worst.
I don't recall that either.
I mean, I'm an idiot, but I don't think I'm that big of an idiot.
But I forget a lot of things, so I could be.
Maybe I did.
If I
did, I'm sorry, basketball gods. Please forgive me and have pity on all of us.
All right, so series is tied up 2-2. Obviously, the Pelicans took game 4. We're back at home, hopefully to a very energetic, rowdy Suns crowd tonight to help these guys in whatever way they can. But the question is, how do we get here? Outside of the Devin Booker injury, of course, because yes, that's big, but I still think this team can and will and should have been better against this team throughout the series without Devin.
Well, I mean, we basically got here because we have a bunch of guys that have not lived up to expectations and some of the things that they've been doing all season long. You know, guys have completely gone MIA in this postseason. Mikal Bridges' offense has, I could argue, even gotten worse since Devin Booker left. DA's been a consistent guy, in especially in the 2 games in New Orleans, just not getting enough touches. Cam Johnson's been erratic. Cam Payne's been erratic. Everybody has been – Jay Crowder's been completely bad on offense. Like, it's just – that's how we got here. The Pelicans are playing a little bit better than their normal. Brandon Ingram is taking it to another level. That's what you want your superstars to do. I have no doubt. And CP3 has found those moments in 2 games. But, man, everybody else, it's the supporting cast. 1,000,000% the supporting cast. They have got to pull their proverbial heads out of their butts, and they got to play at a much, much higher level. Otherwise, I don't even want to say it.
We got here because Chris Paul only has enough in the tank to play at a super high level where he carries the offense every other game. Game 1, big fourth quarter, scores 19 of 21 points. Game 2, he doesn't have it there. Devin Booker goes out. He doesn't have it in the fourth. And to Saul's point, you wind up with a bunch of guys that aren't performing up to their level. Game 3, Chris Paul, fourth quarter, again, 19 points, comes back and do it. And game 4, he didn't have it, 4 total points. I mean, that's where it's at. I mean, that's the problem.
Hey, listen, somebody pointed out in chat as well. We're not the only team struggling out there. There's other teams that are struggling, including the Memphis Grizzlies right now, who have got their hands full, down by 13 in the fourth quarter against the Timberwolves. But the difference is we are the number 1 seed. We were 8 games better than them, right? Like, we don't compare ourselves to the lowers in the league. Like, we thought we were at a much higher level. They got to start playing like it.
I agree. I think one of the biggest things that I'm looking to see tonight is the twins, Cam and Mikal. I want to see them both have a bigger.
Say that. I'm like, what?
The Morai, they're back.
I'm like,
sorry.
What's going on? The Cams.
Do we not call them twins still?
I don't. No, I didn't.
People do. Yes.
I know people do.
They call each other twins. So I thought that was like a thing.
You call them whatever
doing.
you want, Lindsay. Other people call them that. So.
Okay, thanks. But yeah,
I have to give you permission.
I know, right? But I want to see both of those two have a really big offensive night tonight. I think if they can get going early and knock down some, and I mean early threes, I think that would create a very good momentum. It would be contagious for the rest of the team to have a little bit more confidence in their shots, because we saw on Sunday night, like, the Suns were getting decent looks, right? It's not like every single shot attempt they had was wildly contested shot, especially from deep. Some of them, you could argue, were wide open and they just weren't falling. So if those two can knock down a big 3 early on in this game, hopefully that confidence will become contagious and the rest of the team will follow suit, and we'll start to see some of that offense that we should have been seeing from the jump in this series.
Look, people are ripping on Monty in the chat, some people. And when you go back and you look at the actual tape of the games and the plays that they're running, plays that they've consistently run over the last 2 years, they're getting good looks. They're not hitting those good looks. Like you said, in many cases, wide open looks. That's been the difference. The Suns haven't hit their shots. They're still playing their offense the way that they need to. They need to convert on open looks. Landry Shamet, Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, Jay Crowder. These guys collectively can't hit for crap right now, and that's the problem. If they can hit a handful of those threes, it changes the complexion of everything, and they have to do it tonight. They need that tonight, and that's what they've been missing big time in the first 4 games. So.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I totally agree with what he's saying. It's a process. You have to be able to figure out your way through this, and it's just I actually think that they should be far more physical. I know they got whistled a lot, but you know what? You can't let these 2 young punks like Jackson Hayes and Herb Jones do what they did to your own players and just sit there and be like, okay with it. You know what? Somebody's going to have to take one tonight, and somebody's going to have to do it in a very physical way. So what if it's a flagrant 1? So if it's a flagrant 2, get them on their fucking backside. And I think, honestly, if I was them, since they came at CP3, I go after Brandon Ingram.
Look, I took a lot of shit on Twitter for saying this, but if the Pelicans are going to play like they want this to be a football game rather than a basketball game, we got a guy who played football collegiately sitting on that bench in Ish Wainwright. Let him out there. Let him be physical and make it very clear the Suns will not be pushed around. They've been the aggressor in so many different times throughout the last 2 years, and they were the team that drove people nuts. They need to get back to that. They need to make it very clear, hey, you had your fun, young guys. Now it's our time. We know how to do this.
All right, I have 2 questions, one for each of you. First one, Espo, what was the grief you were getting for saying that?
Oh, it was Pelicans fans.
Oh, I
That
see.
we were
Okay.
That
that we
doesn't
were
count.
all Suns
Okay.
fans were crybabies.
I was concerned. I was like,
No.
what's the thing? And then Saul, I have a question for you from Jay Sean in the chat who said, Saul, what does DA need to do to be the best player on the court?
Nothing. He already is. He's been the best player on this. We wanted him to be the best player in the series. And outside of game 1 and half of game 2, he has been. He has been. And listen, Chris Paul closed out game 3. Cool. But it still wasn't like I didn't get the same Juju vibes from, and no pun intended since your name is Ju. I didn't get the same vibes as I did in game 1 from Chris Paul, right? It was kind of a workman's kind of closing that he did in game 3. DA has been dominant. He's been dominant at times. He's shown that he's been the best player on the court more than anybody else on the Suns team outside of Devin Booker. And so DA has been the best player on the team. I don't just keep doing what you're doing, I guess is what I would say.
All right, so one thing that I did find interesting that came out on Twitter today, obviously we all saw Monty Williams got fined $15,000 for public criticism of the officiating. But, on the flip side, the NBA also came out today and decided that Herb Jones did deserve a flagrant 1 for that shove of Chris Paul.
What the
does
hell
nothing.
does that do?
That doesn't do shit for us. We don't
great.
get points from it for a foul shot.
At the very least, they should be like, okay, Monty, instead of 15, it's only 10 because you were
he
right.
shouldn't have a fine at that point.
I mean, fair.
They should get rid of the fine, and then I mean, what's the point in this?
Yeah.
This is like 3 months after an argument, going to your wife and go, by the way, you were right. Like, nobody gives a shit at that point. Like this, there's no reason that they even do this. I mean, unless they were to give these Suns a free throw to start the game, as if it was the technical that you would have gotten in that game, there's no point.
Yeah. I just found that very interesting that it's like, yeah, we're going to fine you because you said it out loud publicly, but also you were right. But still.
Okay, there is. I understand the rule side of it. Psycho Blue talking about how he has 2 F1s. If he gets an F2, he's suspended for a game. I get that point of it. But my point is that was a momentum changer. That was a moment in that game, in that third quarter, that changed things. And not for the better for the Suns, where if that was called a flagrant like it should have been in that game, it could have swung the momentum in a different direction. So it's meaningless in terms of the actual impact on the court right now.
It's also something that needs to be acknowledged because, while the refs were not the only reason to blame, obviously, for that loss, there was a big factor of at the very least, frustration from the refs. That it felt one-sided in a lot of situations. And that would have been a moment where you could have been like, okay, we're not one-sided. We promise. We're watching you guys just as much as we're watching them. Or vice versa. You know what I mean? So
maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Maybe all this wakes up the Suns where they were really not there for most of game 4. Maybe that this all is the wake-up call they needed to be the team that we saw them be for 64 wins this year, because they have not been that team at any point in this playoffs. Defensively, maybe in game 1 for that first half, but since then, we have not seen that team. They need to show up tonight, and maybe the fact that even the refs screwed up horribly and the league decided to admit it is enough.
Man, I fucking hate the phrase, and I'm not trying to bag on you or nothing like that. I'm just saying,
It's fine.
I hate the phrase wake up call. I feel like every time a team loses, it's got to be a wake up call. It's got to be a wake up call. Dude, they beat your ass in game 2. Isn't that the wake up call? And then they came back and they played okay, but they didn't play great Suns basketball. And then they doubled down and played even worse in game 4. And I'm not saying like
I don't mean the loss.
No, I know. I just listen, if we keep using wake up call, because I've heard that basically the entire series in certain ways, like then you just don't have a good team. Like you just don't have a good team. You don't need 4 games of a fucking wake up call. It's tied 2-2. Like you guys need to come out and stomp them out, set the tone, and then game 6, they're second guessing what they've been doing and how fraudulent they played, and then they come back down to earth and then they get their ass whipped again. That's what needs to happen.
I agree. I'm just saying the physicality is enough for them to hopefully take it to that level. Not that they've been doing it on purpose, but just realizing sleepwalking through another game is going to get our ass beat physically and in the scoreboard. That's what, wake up call, probably not the right phrase there, but enough to get them to make changes too. I think you're going to see Bismack Biyombo tonight. I think he's going to play minutes because they've been out physicaled, and he's a guy that can get in there. I doubt we see Ish Wainwright, even though I think we should. But I think we'll get some biz tonight.
I'm concerned. My only concern isn't even the 3-point shooting. It's not the fouls. It's that the Suns are going to appear to be bullied. And if that happens, the series is over. The series is done. If I see that in the first quarter tonight, I'll know, like, oh, this shit ain't happening.
Well, that wasn't one of the options we had on our Twitter poll today, but that is an interesting one that maybe we should have added. So we put up a poll on our Twitter at PHNX_Suns and asked you all to vote on your biggest concern in Game 5. So here were the results. 24% said rebounding, 8% said lineup adjustments, 53% said 3-point shooting, 15% said refs. And then there were a handful of people who voted all of the above. And then obviously, Saul, you just shared yours. Espo, what's your choice?
It's the 3-point shooting.
That's what I selected.
I mean, if they can't hit a 3, it's not going to matter how physical either side is. They're going to have the same exact offensive problem that they've had. They're just missing open shots right now, and either they start making those or they start packing for Cancun. Because you're not going to win shooting 15 or 26% from 3, which is what we saw in Game 3 and Game 4. They need to start hitting their shots because that's how this Suns offense works. They get good open looks from 3 by using that pick and roll action. DA's hitting his shots. The guys outside the arc aren't. That's where they got to get better.
I think if you have half of those open looks drop, it's a completely different ball game for the Suns. And while, yes, on the flip side, you could say, well, the Pelicans haven't shot very well necessarily either. I think over the course of the seasons, the Suns have shot better than the Pelicans. So I still think that you would be able to put this one away a lot earlier if the Suns can get some of those shots to fall.
Yeah, and I'd give credit to the Pelicans defense for this if it wasn't the Suns missing wide open threes. Mm-hmm. This isn't missing highly contested jumpers which there's been the fair share of those, but a lot of these 3-pointers they're missing are wide open off that pick and roll. If that's where they need to make up the points right there.
All right, guys, let's have a little bit of fun to round things out here. Some Cajun fun, if you will. Espo, tell us about this game we're going to play.
Oh, the premise is simple.
Okay.
Shane is going to put up a word, a Cajun word. You're going to try to pronounce it and see how many of us can actually get it right. He has the correct pronunciation on the next slide.
You go first.
Oh, can I go first?
Okay, you go first.
Kaboulian.
Well, okay, you can't go first because you're going to know them. So then Espo and I'm just going to copy you. Don't you know them?
Shane, do I know them?
I thought you said earlier you knew a lot of these words.
I know a lot of Cajun words, but I don't know this one.
Oh, okay. Now, but that's what I'm saying. Now I want to say what you said because it sounds right.
Let's say it, Lindsay. Play my game.
I'm going to say Corbouillon.
Kaboulion?
Corbouillon, yes.
He's putting the R in there.
Yeah.
Kabouillon. Okay.
Kabouillon.
A rich,
Yeah.
spicy tomato-based soup or stew made with fish fillets, onions, and sometimes mixed with vegetables.
You just know that because we
Okay.
go to Papados, right?
Sure.
Oh,
Ooh.
heck.
Lindsay, you go first.
I'm going to be so bad at this.
We don't have all day.
I don't know. Laniape?
Espo?
Lanyape.
Oh, that's better. Laniape is better.
Lenape.
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 Lenop. Okay, something extra. I like that word, lenop. Something extra.
Man, the
That's
Suns
fine.
need to be Lenape tonight.
True.
Okay. Oh, Espo, you take this one. Or Saul, not me.
Oh, Portobay.
Okay. Do you speak? This seems French. Is this a little bit of
No,
French, right?
I
Do
watched
you
the
speak
Wonder
French?
Years. I watched the Wonder Years, and I know one phrase, and he's like, "Voulez-vous de père?" That means, "Do you want some butter?"
The original.
Patebe? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I said, "Puta bear."
Puta bay? Bear?
I said
Puta
bear. I put an R on it. Bear.
Okay, I'm going to say puta bay. Espo?
Yeah, Portobay. Sure. Porti.
So what is that? Pav Tibet?
Pauvre Tibet. Pauvre Tibet. Pauvre Tibet.
Is that how you would say that?
I'd say Pauvre Bet.
Yeah, I would say bet.
By the pronunciation. Poor little thing. I hope that's Alvarado tonight.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
poor
that
little
would be
thing.
ideal.
Not as fun as I thought it would be.
I mean, it is interesting though, just different pronunciations across the world and like
The white one
how
code.
you would be able to understand it or not.
I was actually going to ask you the same thing. Code wanted to know the white Wonder Years or the black one because they remade it this year. I wasn't sure. So.
No, it was the white one.
All right, well let's finish up with what we're gambling on tonight.
Oh,
Espo, tell us what our friends of the DraftKings think about tonight's game.
6-point favorite for the Suns. I'm not making a guess. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you the facts tonight. DraftKings has the Suns as a 6-point favorite.
Okay. I'm not mad at it.
I'm not telling you what if I think it's going to be high, if it's low.
Espo
I'm literally-
refuses.
the gods are not getting me
to
tonight.
say anything. I don't
No.
blame you. All right, what are we putting our money on tonight? What bets are we taking?
I'm going to give Brandon Ingram 35 plus 550 because everything else I bet on has lost. So I hope I am wrong.
I'm going CP, and I actually bet this one. CP3 first field goal plus 1100.
That's a nice.
I
Those
feel
are
like
nice
he's going to
odds.
come out and be like, ain't nothing wrong with my hand. 4 points was a fluke. Here you go. I'm here and I'm ready to play. So I'm going to go with CP3 then.
I'm actually lying to all of you. I'm not betting on this game because I've been wrong for so many times recently, and everything just feels way out of whack. So I feel like I'm
just got to
gonna
stop jinxing
take
them.
a step back and just let whatever happens happen. I have no skin in the game tonight.
Gerald with the cop out. No babies to be fist bumped at minus 30,000. So really crappy odds there.
Yep. Well, there you have it. If you make any gambles tonight on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, be sure to let us know so that we can cheer you on or be a shoulder for you to cry on at the end of the game in case your bet hits or it misses. We're here for you either way. Of course, you can follow us on Twitter at PHNX_Suns throughout the games. Chat with us there. Or if you are a Go PHNX member, you can chat with us in the members only Discord. If you are not a member, consider becoming one because it gets you access to all of Gerald's sweet content, and you can get a free t-shirt of your choice from our locker. We'll see you after the game. Bye.
Hey yo, my lifestyle is retro. Tell the Phoenix Metro. Megas in control and he ain't never gonna let go. PHNX though, Lindsey, Gerald, Espo. Saul pass the ball, we here to turn up the tempo. Got to understand me, I'll always rep the family. Rally in the valley like Dan G.